All right, so let's get this live stream started here. Just gonna hang out. SPD Racer, always appreciate the support and thanks for joining me here on the live stream. Pretty excited. It's not gonna, be too crazy long here, but also a chance to win something pretty cool as well. So we're gonna kind of link a live stream in with a giveaway. So I'm gonna go ahead and hang tight here for a second, see if there's anybody else that comes on. Don't want you guys to wait too long, but today we're gonna be talking about the Macan EV, kind of what we can expect from the car, maybe when we're going to actually launch the car. So that's all going to be coming up. So towards the end, we're going to be having a giveaway. So again, yes, Dave, I'm excited about the giveaway. Have not driven the car yet. So that's a great question. Gavin, how are you? Thanks for joining me from Scotland. I appreciate you guys all logging in here to join me. We're just going to kind of do a high level overview here of the Macan EV, and then again, a giveaway at the end. And pretty excited for this car as it's kind of the second electric vehicle from Porsche. So let me go ahead and get my little presentation here going, and then we're going to end up doing a Q&A towards the end. We can cover anything. I'd like to maybe try to stay on topic with Macan EV, but if you guys want to ask me any other questions, we can certainly do that as well. So let me get my live stream going. So here we go. So of course we have the Macan EV that's going to be on the PPE platform, which we're going to be talking about here in the live stream. And then of course, this is Porsche's second electric vehicle on top of the Taycan. Now, with Porsche and electric automobiles, for those of you who have watched any of my videos, always like to talk about the history. So we're going to be doing the same thing here in today's video. But Porsche is no stranger to electric vehicles. Just put a little bit of writing here for you guys about Ferdinand Porsche was very fascinated with electricity, and he even had installed electric lighting in his parents' house at the age of 18 in 1893. Pretty crazy. Porsche also kind of launched the first electric vehicle, the Eager Loaner C2 Phaeton, in 1899. Didn't have very much horsepower and didn't go very fast. But of course, this was kind of the start for Porsche and electric vehicles. And then we also introduced a hybrid vehicle in 1900, which was the introduction of the electric wheel hub motor. And that was all done by Ferdinand Porsche when he was very young. And of course, before he even ended up starting Porsche Cars AG in the 1940s. So we got a pretty cool photo here. This is of the Semper right here. So that was Porsche's very first hybrid vehicle. So let's go ahead and move on. Now, Porsche is no stranger to electric cars. We've come a long ways from those hybrid cars as well as that very first electric car. One of the very first ones was the GT3R Hybrid. So this was quite the car back in 2010. Was the first racing car with a particular electric drive with what's called permanent synchronous excited motors. So it was actually what we use today in the Taycan, and you'll be finding out we're going to be using in the Macan EV. It's a pretty advanced technology, and Porsche was using it all the way back in 2010. Then, of course, we have the infamous 918 Spyder, was on another one of Porsche's first hybrid vehicles, plug-in hybrids. There was, of course, the Cayenne hybrid before this, but this was one of Porsche's very first plug-in hybrids and set lap records at the Nürburgring 657, which was insane back in those times. Now, this car had three motors, the V8, and then it had a front motor as well as a rear motor. So that's kind of where Porsche has come. Total of 887 horsepower. So that was quite the car. And then Porsche has done a lot of racing with electric cars with the 919 Hybrid. This was the 919 Hybrid Evo, or the tribute car that set a lap record at the Nürburgring, 5 minutes, 19 seconds. So this car's pretty insane. And that's actually where the Taycan gets its 800 volt technology, as well as the Macan is from the 919 Hybrid. And that's kind of monumental in paving the way. Porsche has used a lot of stuff from the 919 Hybrid and now brought it here to the street. And then, of course, Porsche in recent years has started racing the 99X, all-electric racing car. So some pretty sweet stuff that Porsche has come out with over the years with electric cars. Now, what is the PPE platform and where does it come from? Well, it stands for Premium Platform Electric. And who has Porsche partnered with or co-developed this with? If you guys actually maybe want to put it down in the comments, it's going to be kind of a secret giveaway. So go ahead and put who you guys think Porsche has co-developed this PPE platform with. We're actually going to be talking about them a little bit later, as it was requested I add a particular car to this live stream. So if you guys maybe just want to put them down in the comments, give you like 30, 45 seconds, and then we'll continue on. SPD Racer, Audi. For all the rest of the viewers, what do you guys think? Audi, Ruby, thank you. What else you guys think? Anybody else? Well, that is the correct answer. They have co-developed the PPE platform with Audi, and we're going to be talking about the Q6 in a little bit later. Usually don't talk about anything other than Porsche, but we're going to be talking about briefly about Audi today, kind of our counterpart here. Mark, you called it Audi. So let's go ahead and continue on. This is a platform that's going to be able to be used kind of across a lot of different cars in the Volkswagen lineup, Volkswagen, Audi, as well as Porsche. They're also going to use this platform on the upcoming Cayman as well as Boxster. We'll see what that ends up being called, but that car is going to be launched here in the near future. There's just a lot of applications for it. You can use it in rear-wheel drive applications as well as, of course, all-wheel drive applications. And then we've got our 800-volt technology that is going to be included in the PPE platform, which was derived from the Taycan, and before that, it was derived from the 919 hybrid. So this allows for very, very fast charging, and that is what the Taycan promised to do, and it has delivered, as long as, of course, those Electrify America charging stations are working. So we got that. Now, what kind of motors is this car going to have? There's actually two main motor types that car manufacturers are using here in the EV auto industry, and it's permanent synchronous motors and asynchronous motors. I don't want to get too crazy into this, but permanently excited synchronous motors, they are a little bit more expensive to produce, but they save weight, and they're also for a lot of repeatability. So that's why the Taycan can do so many launch controls in a single session, as well as go around the Nürburgring without having any overheating. And with a lot of asynchronous motors, that's part of the problem. They're a little bit cheaper to produce, but they can tend to overheat and lose power over time. That's what's so amazing about the Taycan and what helps it achieve these amazing lap times and have Porsche performance. So that's pretty sweet about that. Now, optimized motors over the Taycan. Now, they have actually increased the water cooling on these PSM motors here for the Macan, so they'll even be able to cool better in hot climates, as well as if you're pushing the car on the track or if you're doing any off-roading. So Porsche has improved that with this PPE platform, as well as Audi. Now, up to 450 kilowatts is what we can expect here on the new Macan EV. Now, how does that translate into horsepower? It's going to take us all the way up to just about 600 horsepower. And 0 to 60 is going to be about 3.5 seconds. This sucker is going to rip, which is pretty impressive. And how does that equate to any cars? Now, here's actually a photo of the PPE platform that you guys can see. Of course, we got the battery there at the bottom, and then we've got those front and rear motors, and of course, a lot of high voltage wires in there that you're going to see that are all going to be in orange. Now, that compares kind of power-wise to the Taycan GTS, which has about 590 horsepower or 440 kilowatts. So, of course, the most powerful Macan we've ever seen. Right now, the top-of-the-line Macan has about 434 horsepower. That's the Macan GTS. So we're going to be going about 170 horsepower more on the top of the line. Most likely, it's going to be called the Macan Turbo. They're actually going to be bringing it back, and it's going to be very similar to what we had for the Taycan. So that's what we can expect as far as trim levels. We'll be talking about that here again in a moment. Now, battery and charging. Of course, we've got a 100 kilowatt hour battery, which is larger than the Taycan. Taycan's got a 93.4 kilowatt battery for Taycan GTS Turbo S on the rear wheel drive, as well as the 4S. It starts with a 79 kilowatt battery, and now we're going to be upping it quite a bit. So how does that translate into real world usages? Well, you're going to see here we got a 300-mile range, which is pretty impressive. I know a lot of people seem to think that the Taycan isn't enough. So now with this Macan, we're going to be getting even more range, especially on a full charge. Now, of course, the optimal charging when you're using it day to day is going to be 85%. But if you're going to be going on the longer road trips, you can charge that puppy all the way up to 100%. Now, we have impressive charging times. We got 5 to 80% in less than 25 minutes, very similar to the Taycan. Taycan's rated for 22.5 minutes, 5 to 80%, and that's on a 350 kilowatt charger. Now, the Taycan is limited to 270 kilowatts. It's said that the Macan EV is going to be actually able to charge a little bit quicker than that in terms of the charging speed. Now, of course, it starts to ramp up as soon as we're at the lower percentages of the battery. And then as soon as we hit about 65%, kind of starts to tailor off and slow the rate of charge just to kind of help the battery overall. Now, we've got a couple new things that this car is going to have. One of those things is going to be bank charging, new to Porsche on any 400-volt charging architecture. So Tesla has stated that they're going to allow a lot of manufacturers to use their charging infrastructure because they're pretty dialed in when it comes to that. There's so many of them. So since the Taycan has about 800-volt technology, what it's going to be able to do, since we've got 400 volts, just about half, it's going to actually be able to split the battery into two. One's 400 volt, one's 400 volt, and charge them in parallel to be able to even have faster charging times on those 400 volt charging stations, which is going to be just like Tesla charging stations. So that's pretty sweet. And then we've also got something called the Power Box for the very first time, which there's a patent pending, and this is going to be able to save weight, and we're going to combine the AC charger, high voltage heater, and the DC-DC converter. It's actually going to help limit the amount of all these cables, and it's just going to help save us weight. So there's patent pending for that. And then, of course, we already talked about those faster charging times. So there's me with the Macan EV. Now, for those of you wondering, that's not a real photo, but we'll be having one here very soon. So let's go ahead and continue on. The chassis, of course, is characteristically Porsche. We have the rear motor has been moved a little bit further back just to help with the weight distribution. Now, weight distribution is 48-52 split, almost a perfect 50-50. So the driving dynamics in theory are going to be very similar to the Taycan because we've got a lot of weight there on the bottom of the car with that 100 kilowatt battery. And for those of you who have driven a 718, that has an almost perfect 50-50 weight distribution as well. So it really helps the car get around the corners and really kill it on the overall driving characteristics. Now, rear axle steering is going to be offered in the higher trim levels like a Macan Turbo. So that's really going to help us pull around those corners. For those of you who are familiar with rear axle steering, it's pretty impressive. When you're going up to 50 miles an hour, it's going to go in the opposite direction. And then when you're going above 50 miles an hour, it's going to go in the same direction as the front wheels and really help you pull you around that racetrack. Now, we have a revised double wishbone axle with detached strut in the front. So they've completely revised the front suspension as well as the back. Here we've got a multi-link suspension aesthetically mounted to the subframe. And then for the higher trim levels, we're also going to have Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus, which is a electronically controlled rear differential. So for those of you who've had PTV in the Plus, it's going to brake kind of the inner brake and pull us around the bends. That kind of works hand in hand with rear axle steering. It's pretty impressive what it does. And it said that all the US models are going to have air suspension for any type of off-roading. So you're going to be able to raise and lower the car, kind of similar to the Taycan 4S, of course, and above. All those cars have air suspension. On the rear-wheel drive variant, of course, it is an option. Now, there she is. She's getting after it there off-roading. So now we're going to have a little bit more PASM with 2-valve shock absorbers, very similar to the Cayenne. This was recently released as part of that. So Porsche has found that with this 2-valve technology opposed to the 3-valve technology, it increases the comfort and also increases the overall driving dynamics. There's a broader range between comfort and Sport Plus suspension. So that's pretty sweet there, that now they're going to be bringing that here to the Macan EV. Then we've got the wheel widths on the front and the rear will differ significantly to accommodate rear-focused wheel distribution. So kind of what that means is it's going to be more rear wheel biased, which the Macan right now is that. It's more rear wheel biased, gives us more of a performance. Now, if you're punching it, you're flooring it, and all those electrons are going to those front and rear motors, probably going to be pretty evenly distributed. But when you're just cruising around, more of a rear wheel drive car. That's very sports car-y. So the interior is derived from the Cayenne. So some of you may have seen these photos. This is from Motor One. You can see that the instrument cluster is the same pretty much as the Taycan as well as the Cayenne. The PCM screen, very similar to what we have in the Cayenne and Taycan and 911. For those of you who don't know, right now, the Macan has a previous generation PCM called PCM 5.0. What we've got here is PCM 6.0. Steering wheel's pretty much what we have right now. It's derived from the 992 with, of course, that airbag that was so small and originally derived from the 918 Spider. There's a little bit more of a close-up of that cluster. Pretty sweet. Doesn't look like there's anything that we're going to be able to touch like we can on the Taycan, but of course, a lot of different display. We've got the 3 tubes, which is going to show you the left, the center, and the right. So very, very similar battery percentage, battery temperature. Optimal temperature is about 85, 90 degrees. So we've got that. And then the center console is, of course, for those of you who have seen the new Cayenne, is derived from the new Cayenne as well. So it's going to be kind of a touch panel, and they're going to go down. Now, now the engineering cars there, we've got a bunch of other knobs there that, of course, the real car is not going to have. Should have wireless charging there in front of those front lower vents. Those vents are just like the new Cayenne. So, yes, it's kind of a hybrid between a Taycan as well as a Cayenne. So, now, the launch of the car, when can we expect it? It should be within the next 2 months or so is when the actual launch is going to happen. Not going to state any official dates, but it may be delayed as Volkswagen has had a lot of layoffs and is still expected for early 24. And of course, it's going to be launched as a 25 model. Originally, this car was supposed to be released in 23 as a 24 model, but there's always kind of crazy delays on these kind of cars. And now with about 2,000 layoffs Volkswagen's going to have, that was launched a couple days ago. That may delay the car just a little bit, just because they're still working on newer software for the Macan EV, so that may delay it. Now, 3 trim levels are expected to be released as soon as the car is officially released. Macan/Macan 4, so that's, of course, an all-wheel drive, S variant, and turbo. So we're kind of going exactly like what we have for Taycan and a lot of the other variants, such as 911. We've got the 4, the S variants, the turbo variants. And we're again, looks like there's no GTS variant. Now, it said that the Porsche is going to have this car along with electric car all in one. So we have an internal combustion car for a couple years along with this Macan EV. And then we've got the turbo will have a larger rear motor. That's how we're going to get an increase in horsepower opposed to an S or just any rear wheel drive variant. And the price is expected to be around 80,000. So that's about almost 20 grand more than the Macan currently is for its internal combustion 4-cylinder counterpart. So pretty fascinating. Quite the price increase. We're probably looking at an 80, 90, and maybe $100,000 starting price as we work our way up. So pretty big bump. But of course, I think this car is going to be 100% worth it. Now, somebody asked me, how does this car compare to the Audi Q6? They're both on that premium platform, electric, derived from Audi and Porsche. Same size battery. Suspension is going to be a little bit more dialed in here for the Macan EV. So that's going to have better suspension tuning, more performance oriented, as well as the steering and overall feel. Now, the motors offered are going to be very similar, but we're most likely not going to have an ASM or that asynchronous motor that the Teslas have. But you can see here, I actually got this from Audi. We've got the 3 different motor levels. We've got the PSM and ASM motors with it's 100 millimeters in size. Second trim is going to be PSM at a 150, and then we've got a 200 millimeter variant. That's probably going to be like on an RSQ6, so kind of the top of the level. The power electronics very, very similar, and the gearbox similar. But again, I don't think we're going to be having a ASM motor as part of the Macan, because Porsche tends to be against them, because it's all about performance and we don't want to lose repeatability. And it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Part of the reason the car is a bit more expensive, but that helps the car's overall performance. And then, of course, the styling is going to be quite a bit different. Audi's on their Q6 has very similar interior as what we have on all the other Audis, like the e-tron and whatnot. So now, giveaway. Here we go. So let's see the person who can get this question right. And I'm actually going to be jumbling up all the names here in a moment, is going to get the chance to win this Taycan paperweight. This is from the Taycan concept. So it's pretty sweet. It's got a nice little pad here on the bottom just to help it if you're maybe putting it on your desk. Makes it nice and smooth. And it's all white and shiny. So what is the question and how do you enter to win? You'll just put the comment down there at the bottom. And let's continue on. Mike, LA Auto Show. Probably when it's going to be. So we'll be talking about that here in a minute. The question is, what Porsche race car does the Macan EV get its 800-volt architecture from? Put your answer down in the comments below. This is only going to be allowed for people that are part of the live stream. So if you're watching this after the fact, you're not going to have the ability to win. And sorry, I believe, I can't remember your name. Sorry, Gavin from Scotland. Unfortunately, this is only going to be for people that are in the US. Mike, go Cougs, definitely. So for those of you who don't know, I went to Washington State University and got a degree in kinesiology. And that's actually in Pullman, Washington. So that's our saying, is go Cougs. SBD Racer 919. Dave got Taycan, but what race car was it derived from? So I'm going to start adding your guys' names in here. And then we're going to open it up to questions. So for those of you who want to put your answers in there, please. I've had giveaways in the past, but now I figured I'd do a pretty hopefully cool giveaway for you guys here as part of the live stream. So I've only one person has popped it up. SPD Racer, Mike, okay, 919. I'm going to add you to the mix. Okay, so what do you guys think? I'm going to give it about another 30 seconds here, and then we're going to open it up. There's a lot more people here on this live stream, so hopefully everyone gets a chance to enter. And again, I appreciate all your guys' support and joining me here on this live stream. I really appreciate it. We're going to be doing a lot more of these, and we're going to be opening them up. So, okay, just about 10 more seconds. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop it. So the correct answer was the 919 hybrid. Now, the Taycan has 800-volt technology, but it wasn't a race car that it was actually derived from. Was the 919 hybrid, which started in 2013 when they launched it. 2014, they started to race, and then it won 2015, 2016, 2017 at Le Mans. So a pretty impressive car. And then they went all out late 2017, early 2018 into that 919 hybrid Evo. So let me share another screen here real quick, and we'll come back to this, and we'll see who is going to win here. So here's our names. I'm going to go ahead and jumble them up. Looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that entered to win. I'm going to reach out to you as soon as it's over, and we'll get you guys your prize. So let's see who's going to win. Who's it going to be? Looks like it's going to be Dave. So we can get you your pretty slick Taycan paperweight. So we're just about wrapped up here with the presentation. So let me go ahead and bring it back here. And then we will get to any questions you guys may have. And we'll go from there. So let's see. Now, let's talk about it. Do you guys have any questions for me? Do you have any questions on anything else? Dave, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining me on the live stream. So again, I'll be reaching out to you. But so let's talk about more about the Macan EV. See if you guys have any questions that maybe I can answer. And then if you guys have any other Porsche questions, we'll certainly try to jump into those as well, as I know we can kind of get. And then if you guys actually have suggestions for maybe more live stream topics, kind of want to do these twice a month. So this is one of two. And I'm going to start doing more of these. I want to answer your guys' questions, may even do some live builds. It's got some pretty cool stuff coming. So thank you for everyone that's joining me. So if you guys have any ideas, that would be great. Will Porsche be developing solid state batteries in the future? Yes, they will be. Still a little bit premature, but Porsche that they're currently working on that. So we should be having solid state batteries. So for those of you who are maybe wondering what's a solid state battery, it's quite the improvement from a lithium ion battery that the Taycan has, as well as the Macan EV is going to have. So they are working on that, Mark. That's a great question. So we should be seeing those probably in at least a couple more years until we have those come out. The Porsche mechanics have arc flash rubber gloves hanging off their hips at Lemon to protect themselves from the high voltage. So yeah, so when any technician works on any type of high voltage for Taycans, there's quite a bit of things they have to do to make sure they're not going to get shocked. Actually, if a car comes in, a Taycan comes in at the moment, and there is an issue with the battery, let's say they have to replace one of the cells. Speaking of that, the Macan's going to have about 12 cells. Then they have to bring in somebody from Porsche that's a high voltage technician to replace the cells themselves. So it's quite the thing. They have to lower the battery all the way out, and they can replace the individual cells, so they don't have to replace the entire battery. Another question: when you say the launch, what time do you think US dealers will get a launch car for us to see? Great question, Mark. So I would expect the launch cars, we're probably not going to see them until summer next year, until you can actually see them. That's the plan as of right now, is going to be late summer next year. So it's going to be a while until we actually see the cars. But again, the official launch is going to be coming up here pretty soon. But yeah, so it's going to be a little while, unfortunately, but I know it's a pretty hot topic, so I just wanted to talk about it. Looks like Dave's got a question for us. Can you please remind us, with all EV models be available for sale in late 24? It'll start with a single trim level to start. They should be relaunching all 3 trim levels to start. They may bring more as they come along. So that's going to be towards the end of 25. That's the current plan. Now, of course, things are set to change, but we should have all 3 trim levels kind of right from the beginning. And then we'll see if they start adding more kind of to the mix as we go along. Great question, Mark. Unfortunately, have not had a chance to drive one. So I can't answer you if I like it more than the current Macan GTS. Wish I could. But it's going to be a tough one. I do tend to like the sound from Macan GTS. The sound is amazing. So that's something that we're going to be missing, with the exception of the electric sport sound that the Macan EV is going to offer. So it's going to be tough, but the overall driving dynamics are going to be better than the current gas car. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Mike, rumors long ago mentioned LA Auto Show as the release. Haven't heard much lately. Yes, that is technically, I believe, the plan for the car. So hopefully that's the plan. But again, there's been some weird stuff going on with um, a lot of layoffs. 2 years or 24 hours of Le Mans autocorrect, LOL. Mr. Shan, I appreciate it. Trying to bring as much content as I can for you guys. So if you guys have any suggestion for more of these live streams, that would be fantastic. Put them down in the comments. I would greatly appreciate it. Michael Rusnak, free charging at EA stations. Yes. So right now, the Taycan has free charging at Electrify America here in the United States for 3 years, up to 30 minutes of charging. Same thing's going to happen here with the Macan EV. So the car is going to get free charging for the first couple of years. And then, of course, you can pay. You'll have to pay for it. Most people I find are charging it at home. But if you want that crazy fast charging, maybe on the road, then you'll be able to find those Electrify America charging stations through the car's PCM. Search destination. There's a little charging icon once the car has an account set up to it, and you'll be able to see all the EA stations. And then you can also search them from your My Porsche app. Same thing's going to happen here with the Macan EV. I want to know why they put those lights on the front lower bumper. That's a great question. So you'll see those here. Some of the other photos I showed, we didn't have them. That was a pretty early engineering car, so shouldn't expect that here on the actual cars themselves. Doesn't seem like I can go back. So sorry, guys. Let me see if I can go back. Let's see. Maybe see it here. This is a little bit newer style here down at the bottom. Let me put this away. You're not going to see as much, but the turn signals I would expect to be quite a bit smaller, but you don't see any lower fog lights like we did on that very early engineering car. That was actually from 2021, that very last photo that I put up. So let's see if I have anything else here for you guys. I think we have one right at the very beginning. So again, very, very small. Don't think the car is actually going to have that. It's going to be a lot slimmer than what we have there. Yes, the weight is going to be a little bit more than the current Macan. Not exactly sure where we're going to be coming in weight wise, but it will be more than the current Macan, but not by much. Let's see. Do we know when allocations will start? So Porsche stores will get their allocations a little bit after the cars initially relaunched. So I would expect allocations to start Q1, Q2 of next year. So it's going to be a little bit of time until Porsche stores start getting the allocations, but you'll at least be able to spec one, save the Porsche code, so Porsche dealers can start accepting your orders. Dave, great question. How will the size compare to the EV height, length, and width? Going to be almost identical to the current car. So very, very similar height, length, and width. So we're not going to see a drastic difference in the overall size of the car. It's going to be very, very similar. Mark, great. That's a really good question. So the cars have an 8-year warranty for the battery. Not sure how long the actual batteries are going to last. Of course, there's something called battery degradation. So over time, just like our phones, they start to lose their charge. But again, Porsche has an 8-year warranty on the batteries. So some batteries I've seen on Taycans already start to go, which is crazy. But again, that's kind of the first gen for Porsche and this technology. It's as easy as on some just replacing just individual cells of each battery. So that may happen, but I would expect hopefully the batteries will last 8 years. That's the plan, because the cars are gonna have to go pretty far and the batteries are very, very costly to replace. Right now on a current Taycan battery, I mean, you're looking at 50, 60 grand replaced with labor to replace the battery. So that's a better portion of the price of the car. So I'm hoping they're going to last at least 8 years. And then again, you can drop the batteries down and change one of the individual cells. There's 12 total cells in the battery. Charles, 918, not sure if this was maybe in response to the giveaway. But thanks for commenting. I appreciate it. Looks like Mike said he heard the lower lights may stay. So when we're talking about those lights, let's go back here. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Let me show you a lower. It'll be interesting. He's talking about these lower lights that are down here below the headlights. You can tell that the headlights look very Taycan-esque, which is pretty slick. I think those lower lights are going to stay. I just don't think they're going to be quite that large. Should be a little bit sleeker. Can you speak about the EA charging stations expansion? Keep hearing. Sorry, I'm going to pop it up here. We need more stations if EVs can survive. I agree with you, Mark. So there's actually, we can talk about EA charging expansion. So they're trying to expand as much as they can. Right now, Electrify America is also having trouble with getting the full capacity of the chargers to come out. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to bring up a graph for you guys. Give me just 1 second. Sorry. So that they seem to be pretty prevalent here on the West Coast. East Coast is still having a little bit of trouble with the charging stations. So let me see if I can find the graph for you. So this right now is showing there's 843 total stations with about 118 coming. It's definitely needed, just like you said, Marks, for us to be able to maximize our charging, especially because, so for example, when the Taycan first came out, we didn't have very many cars at these Electrify America charging stations. Now there tends to be a lot more. So hopefully this is going to be the case, but you can see, let me go ahead and hide your question. 843 total stations, 3,000 chargers, but they want to, of course, increase it quite a bit more as well from what they currently are on, just because we need that to be able to pop up. So we're going to need it. So hopefully they're going to be increasing even more, but that's pretty substantial. Some people are also using ChargePoint, or they're just charging at home. But yeah, that needs to probably double for all these electric cars that are coming out. So hopefully that'll be happening here in the very near future. They're saying that it handles better than Macan GTS. Will there be warm in the back seats? Great question, Mark. Should be about the same size in the back seats as what we currently have, and it will have better handling than the Macan GTS, mostly in part because of just that weight distribution. So great, 40, 48, 52, a little bit more rear biased. So that'll have amazing. Great question. 100,000 with the 8-year warranty. That's correct. So that's a decent amount of warranty. So hopefully that's going to stay. Hopefully we won't have too many issues with it. Technology of EVs is changing rapidly. That's why the depreciation curve is high on EVs. How are the current Taycan sales doing? Great question. So the depreciation on EV vehicles has been very high. One that I've seen that's depreciated drastically is the Audi e-tron GT. So Audi's been discounting those pretty significantly, and they've depreciated a lot. Taycan's not quite as much. Taycan sales have fallen off a little bit here as of recently. There was a hot demand for them during COVID. Couldn't keep them in stock. There was a long wait, about a year wait. They're not as popular maybe as they were, maybe because the Macan EV is going to be coming out. But again, you're right about the depreciation curve. Don't usually talk about sales too much, but that is going to happen. Like I said, Audi e-tron GT having some issues for resale. So maybe for those of you who are thinking about getting that car, maybe lease it, it'll help. Is there a waiting list? Great question. Depends on each particular Porsche store if there's a waiting list. So some Porsche stores maybe are taking allocations. So we'll see. But some stores may be having it, but again, they don't have any allocations yet, so they can't necessarily promise an order. It'll just take some time for that. Now, Siemens has partnered with EA. It looks SPD Racer works for Siemens. So, of course, a massive company, and they've invested 167 million in EA chargers. So that is a lot of money. Of course, Volkswagen has also invested a bunch of money too. It's kind of not talked about too much, but the Volkswagen was kind of forced to make these EA stations because of what happened with diesel scandal across Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche. So they were kind of forced to create this massive network of chargers. So it's going to be interesting, but that's a lot. I didn't realize that Siemens had that much of a investment in EA. That's a lot of money. So they need to maybe keep pumping some more so we can get some more charging stations. We got another question here. Probably going to be on the live stream. We'll do it for about another 5-6 minutes, and then we're going to let you guys continue on with your night. But if you could please put down in the comments any topics that you guys would like to see. I was thinking about doing one on the new Panamera. Of course, that's going to be launched here in just about 3.5 weeks in Dubai Auto Show. So that'll be coming out. But please, if you guys have anything you guys want to see, just put them down in the comments so I can try to incorporate them here into these live streams. Now, is the Macan ICE GTS going to change in 2025? Will it only be around for 2 more years? That's about right. They've said a couple years, so I don't think it's going to change in 25. There's rumors that it will, but I don't think so. I think they may try to hold on to it for another year or two, and they're probably going to kill the car. So that's what they say. We'll see how everything kind of plays out with EVs and whatnot. 992.2, that's coming. So Porsche's got a lot of changes coming here for model year 2025. We've got 992.2 expected to be launched. We've got, of course, the Macan EV, which we're talking about right now. Refresh to Taycan they're hinting at. We've got new Panamera for model year 2025. And then a new Cayman Boxster that's going to be all electric. That's going to be kind of on the Mission R platform. For those of you who have not seen that, that looks pretty slick. Of course, it's not going to be quite as drastic as that car, but that's kind of what's going to be coming to the 718. I don't think that's what they're going to call it. It should be changed. Mission R platform. So that, for those of you who have not seen it, looks something like this, which is pretty aggressive looking. So pretty slick. Of course, we've got these headlights look very similar to what we have for the Macan. The back got very similar to what we've got for the Taycan, as well as kind of what's coming for the Macan EV. So got some pretty slick stuff coming. So again, Mission R looks pretty slick. So it's going to be interesting to see how they incorporate that into a street car. I like that, Ruby. A show on the 992.2. I can definitely do that. I will try to do that for a show in the next, probably in the next month or so. I should be able to do a 992.2 show. So that's great. Mission R equals smiley face. You and me both, Dave. Yes, Mark, it is. That's a very slick looking car. Let me see if I can show you guys the inside as well. Inside, very futuristic. Kind of reminds me of the Mission X, which is technically the all-electric replacement for the 918 hybrid. So that's going to be coming. But this is, again, like I said, all race car. I'll stop switching around on you guys so frequently. But that car looks pretty slick. So it'll be interesting to see how they translate that into the normal cars. Is Mission X real and will be sold into the general public? Yes. That's a great question. It is a real concept car. The real thing will probably be fairly similar to that car. Right now, Porsche's taking interest lists to see how many people they can probably purchase that car once it comes out. So that it probably will be the replacement. I would expect a couple more years until that car officially comes out, but that's going to be a car. I've noticed it's a similar looking car, but 919 hybrid, or excuse me, 919 street and Mission X, very, very similar cars. But yeah, a couple of years, we'll be seeing that. That sucker's probably going to have sub 2 seconds, 0 to 60. So just kind of shows you what electric cars can do. Check out the investment link. The total amount of investment in EA is 450 million. Nuts. That's pretty crazy. It's a lot of money. Yes, That's another great question, Ruby. So 992.2 is set to be a hybrid car. The current car actually has enough room for it to be a hybrid. There's already enough room for the battery. So Porsche's kind of already setting that up for that car to have that capability. So we're going to see how that kind of translates. I like to call these cars almost baby 918s in a way, because of course we've got the flat six turbocharged, and then we're going to throw an electric motor on that. So that's what they're saying is going to be coming. So I'll try to talk about that in my next show. But yeah, that's coming down the pipe. 2025. Great question. 992.2 GT3, John. I don't have too much on that updates there. I'm sure Porsche is going to try to keep that car naturally aspirated, at least for the end of this 992 generation. So I would expect that car is probably not going to be launched until 2026 or 7. So we're at least a couple of years out, most likely, from that car. Do solid state batteries last longer than a lithium ion battery? I don't know. That's a really good question. I'll try to answer that question and see if I can find out more information, but I'm not sure. Just haven't done too much research on solid state batteries and how they compare to lithium ion. I think they're still probably trying to test that, since all these technologies are so new. I don't know if they've had as much time to test all these different technologies, but it's said that solid state is better. Will home charger be included with the Macan? Yes, that's the plan. So right now there's 2 levels of chargers for the Taycan. Should be very similar with the Macan. One's called a mobile charger plus, which is kind of the standard charger. It doesn't have a screen. You can see a little bit of your charging stats when you go to the My Porsche app. Then we got the mobile charger plus, which can be used with what's called the home energy manager, which you can link into your house's electrical panel. And then the car will tend to turn your charging into a smart home, where, let's say, a lot of the lights are on in your home, and then as everybody kind of goes to sleep, it'll know to kind of then pop or juice up the power. So something very similar is going to be available with the Macan as well. So it will be included. It's just a matter of if people already have their chargers. I know a lot of people already have chargers as part of their home, but that's what's set to come. Let me stop this Mission R in the background. Sorry, guys. So any other questions for part of this live stream? Again, I really appreciate you guys all joining me on this live stream. Again, I want to try to make my channel as much interactive as possible, and see if you guys have any other questions. But again, if I don't have the answer, maybe some of you guys can chime in. It looks like SBD Racer is chiming in here for solid state batteries. So solid state has a higher density, meaning smaller packs, less weight, and more driving distance. So that'll help kind of keep the weight down for a lot of these cars, which is great. Because right now the Taycan's battery weighs about 1,600 pounds. That's a lot. So that's a better portion of the weight of the car. So hopefully they'll be able to get the weight down. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a significant reduction. But again, in terms of how long they last, not sure. So I'll try to find that out. You're welcome. I'm glad it was, glad the live stream was helpful for you. Energy density, that is. Got it. So that's kind of, thanks for chiming in. If you guys have any answers to any of the questions that I don't know, please just throw them in. We're always all learning, so I don't know everything, of course, so always like to try to learn as much as I can. This is a good question. Since Porsche is developing e-fuels, why are they discontinuing the Macan and other cars? So Porsche's trying to, I think that in the back of their minds, they think that electric cars are something that everybody's going to right now, and that is potentially still the wave of the future. But I think there's still a small part of them that thinks that maybe it's not going to be long term, because of the recycling the batteries. We'll just see how that all kind of plays out. So I think they're also kind of playing their other hand, which is going to be the e-fuels that they're working with. And they'll also be able to try to keep as many of the cars that are currently internal combustion on the road. So I think that's why they're also trying to work on e-fuels, because of course there's a lot of cool Porsches that people are going to love and want to keep on the roads as long as possible. Wouldn't be surprised if the electric route is the way that the world kind of goes. If there's a lot of tax that is put on those cars in the future, so if they can try to reduce the overall CO2 emissions, that I think that that's why they're working on it. Because I don't know if you've heard the stat, 70% of all Porsches are still on the road today. So if that's going to be the case going forward, and gas stations are fewer and far between, then it would be nice to have e-fuels so we can keep a lot of these cars still on the road. So a lot of the cars, like 992 Cup cars and whatnot, can run on e-fuels right now. They're probably going to take some modification for older cars, but that'll just help kind of keep the current internal combustion cars alive. Mark, does this new Porsche alternative fuel have a chance for they will offer a free tank with the purchase of a new 911? I haven't heard that, but that would be pretty sweet. I think it does. They're really trying to ramp up production. It's just, unfortunately, it's a pretty small operation in South America that they have. It's in Chile, so hopefully they'll be able to increase the overall production. Right now, they're pretty much just using it in like Carrera Cup racing for the 992 GT3 Cup cars. A lot of the cars at Rennsport this year were also running on e-fuels as well. 356 number one, the very first Porsche, very first car to bear the Porsche name, 356, was actually ran on e-fuels this year at Rennsport. So I think they're really going to try to get it out there to try to make it, prevalent here for the future, to really try to reduce these CO2 emissions. But I hope they have a chance, but again, it's still a pretty small operation in the scheme of things. They're, as far as I'm aware, one of the only manufacturers that are working on this. And that kind of brings me to the next question. Is Porsche working on hydrogen combustion? I have not heard that they are. The only manufacturer that I'm aware of that's working on hydrogen is Toyota. I know that they're really trying to push hydrogen with some of their hydrogen cars. But nothing in the pipeline right now for Porsche working on hydrogen. Wouldn't be surprised if, there's always a small little team trying to work on it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Fuel is great, but way too expensive right now. Yes. So like racing fuel is about $10 a gallon. I know in Europe it's very, very expensive, just regular gas. So the possibility of getting these e-fuels out to the masses at this point has got to be a very expensive endeavor, just because, again, it's a small operation, and just getting these e-fuels across the world and into their own gas stations, or however they're going to try to move them across the planet. So that's going to take a lot of infrastructure to be able to get all these e-fuels produced in one place all across the world. So that's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But EV or e-fuels kind of down the road, probably both, but we'll see how it kind of turns out. You're welcome, Mark. I appreciate you joining me on the live stream. I appreciate every single one of your guys' support. That's okay. No worries. I completely understand what you meant. So no worries at all. We were already talking about e-fuels, so we're all good. Don't worry about it. Probably going to wrap this up here in a second. If you guys have any other questions, want to leave some maybe for the next live stream. Fun stream. Thanks again, Dave. You're very welcome. Hope to see every single one of you guys on the next one. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. I've got kind of two emails now. The main one is Pcarwhisperer@gmail.com. That's one I've been using for a long time. There's also another one that's going to be Mason@Pcarwhisperer.com. So we've got a couple that you guys can reach out to me on. Of course, you can also reach out to me on YouTube as well. It's kind of where we live. So if you guys want to reach out to me, either one of those. Oops, don't disregard that one. So I know some of you have emailed me before, but that's kind of where you guys can catch me. And then you can always reach out to me at my website as well, which is pcarwhisperer.com. There's a way to contact me on there. We've got some merch that you guys can check out that I've created. I actually have one of the shirts right here. This is an older shirt, but pretty sweet. Of course, we got the Pink Piggy, my favorite Porsche race car of all time. And then we've got the logo kind of here on the back. So always appreciate the support, but always try to make some kind of cool content for you guys and cool things you can wear just to support the channel. So we've got that. Oops, that's not the right one. Pcarwhisperer@gmail.com. And then we've also got Mason at Pcarwhisperer.com. So again, I appreciate every single one of you for joining me here on this live stream. I'll let you guys know. And I'll also send you an email. You can actually join the email list by going to my website, Pcarwhisperer.com. You can create an account that'll join you as part of the contact list, and I'll just send you updates as they come along. So again, that's going to be Pcarwhisperer.com. I appreciate you for all of your questions and joining me on this live stream. Hope all of you have a great rest of your Monday night. The plan will be able to have one of these again in about 3 weeks. I'm going to try to keep them in succession. I'll be every 3 weeks on a Monday night. So again, if you guys have any suggestions for them, just please put them in the comments or shoot me an email. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in one of my next videos. See ya.